Hello, everyone. Welcome to CMTO's 2020 Virtual Open House. First of all, thank you for joining us today at our first ever virtual open house. We're excited to have you here. We had more than 700 RMTs sign up to attend this webinar, and we are very much looking forward to answering your questions and updating you on some important CMTO initiatives. Needless to say, we know this past year has been extremely challenging for RMTs, not only as health professionals, but also as individuals. So we are particularly glad you were able to take time out of your day today to tune in for this webinar. For those who could not make it, or if you are unable to attend for the entire hour, don't worry, we will be posting a recording of this webinar for future use. Here's an overview of what we will be going over in the next hour or so. In today's webinar, we will be sharing information with you about CMTO's upcoming elections to Council, answering your questions about STRIVE requirements for 2020, asking for your feedback on CMTO's new draft standards of practice, and then answering some of the questions you submitted when you signed up for this webinar. So let's get into introductions now. My name is Asma Farouk. I am CMTO's Interim Communications Specialist. I will be one of your presenters today, along with my colleagues Michael Obey, CMTO's Professional Practice Specialist, and Jennifer Brennan, CMTO's Practice Specialist. Mike and Jennifer, please take a moment to introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike, Professional Practice Specialist at CMTO. So I'm involved in just about everything quality assurance related, so STRIVE as well as the peer and practice assessments.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Brennan, and I am CMTO's Practice Specialist. I spend most of my time working with RMTs directly through email and responding to inquiries by phone. I also work by facilitating CMTO's workshops.
Thank you, Jennifer and Mike. So as I mentioned, we had over 700 RMTs sign up to attend today's webinar. A number of RMTs who signed up noted that they are new to the profession and to the college. So welcome to the profession. To start off the webinar, we thought it would be helpful to provide a brief overview and a reminder of CMTO's role and mandate. So let's get right to it. CMTO is the organization established by the provincial government to regulate the practice of massage therapy and the conduct of massage therapists in Ontario. Our mandate is to ensure the public interest is placed at the forefront of all activities. This means the focus is on the client's or public's needs. CMTO is here to ensure the public receives safe, effective, and ethical massage therapy treatment. While CMTO focuses on the public, the association, the Registered Massage Therapists Association of Ontario, or RMTAO, acts as the voice and advocate of the profession. So now we'll go over some of the ways that CMTO meets its mandate. This includes setting requirements for becoming an RMT to make sure only qualified professionals are registered to practice, and having a public register where the public and employers can verify that an RMT is qualified to practice. On the public register, CMTO is required to publish up-to-date information about all RMTs in Ontario, including their practice locations, contact information, registration details, languages spoken, gender, and conduct history. CMTO also sets and enforces standards of practice so that clients can feel confident about the safety and efficacy of their massage therapy treatment. We also have a practice specialist, Jennifer, who is available to provide information and guidance to massage therapists, clients, employers, and other people who may have questions about massage therapy treatment. In addition to this, CMTO investigates complaints and reports about RMT's conduct and takes remedial or punitive action where needed. Complaints and reports can come in from a variety of sources, including clients, employers, insurers, and other health professions. And we also administer STRIVE, the quality assurance program that ensures RMTs keep their knowledge and skills up to date. Mike will be speaking more about STRIVE later. Next, we're going to discuss elections, which are right around the corner. This year, we are holding elections in districts 2, 5, and 7. And you can see on the screen the areas that each district comprises of. Being a council member can be an extremely rewarding experience for a member of the profession. It's truly an opportunity to make a difference in the regulation of massage therapy. Since elections are coming up, we thought we would take a few minutes to share some information with you about what council is and what it means to be a council member. So firstly, council is the governing body of CMTO. It's essentially CMTO's board of directors. Council is composed of 9 RMTs who are elected by their peers on a geographical or academic basis, and up to 8 public non-RMT members of the public who are appointed by the provincial government. As a member of the council, you will help to set CMTO's strategic direction and will make important decisions about the regulation of massage therapists in Ontario. Council ensures that CMTO has the resources to meet its mandate, that it operates effectively and efficiently, and that it routinely reports on its activities. Council members also sit on CMTO's statutory committees. One of the most important things to know is that as a council member, you do not make decisions that put the interests of the profession first. You must use your professional knowledge and experience to make decisions in the public interest. That means putting the interests of clients and the public ahead of your own. You might be wondering how you qualify to become a council member. There are several requirements outlined in CMTO's bylaw number 2, which is available on our website. In addition to the requirement to the bylaw, council members are expected to have general skills or attributes in several key competency areas, including professional judgment, listening and understanding, decision-making, integrity, ethics and values, professional awareness, and conflict management. If you're an RMT who is looking for a challenge and you're committed to ensuring the public receives safe, effective, and ethical massage therapy treatment, you may want to consider running for council. Nominations will open the week of November 2nd, 2020, and the last day to receive nominations is November 27 by 4 p.m. Then voting opens the week of December 7th, 2020, and election day is January 11, 2021. So voting closes at 2 p.m. on January 11, 2021. RMTs in Districts 2, 5, and 7 will receive detailed information on how to run soon. Stay tuned to your email and the CMTO website for details. If you have any questions about this process, please email officeofregistrar@cmto.com. And with this, I am now going to turn the webinar over to Mike, who is going to talk about something many RMTs had questions about, STRIVE, the quality assurance program.
Thank you, Asma. I also just want to say thanks first to everyone who had submitted questions when they signed up for the webinar. We did get several questions about STRIVE, and we're going to answer those in this section of the webinar. And we kind of grouped them into 2 categories. So the inquiries we received really kind of were grouped in general inquiries about STRIVE, as well as inquiries that were STRIVE related and how it kind of interacts with the pandemic that's currently going on. So we'll answer the general STRIVE questions first, and then we'll move into addressing questions about STRIVE in relation to the pandemic. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is what is quality assurance and why RMTs need to complete quality assurance annually. And really this stems from a piece of Ontario legislation called the Regulated Health Professions Act that essentially outlines what the functions of a regulatory health college must be. And so from that, all regulatory health colleges in Ontario must have a quality assurance program, and that program must include continuing education, professional development, self, peer, and practice assessment, and a way for the college to monitor registrants' participation in that program. So at CMTO, we call our quality assurance program STRIVE, and STRIVE's designed to ensure continuing competence and support RMTs with the delivery of quality care. And STRIVE gives RMTs the tools to reflect on their practice, identify areas for improvement or enhancement, and set goals for professional development through self-directed learning. Next, I'm going to address one of the questions that we did get from a few registrants, which was about why the program changed. And so for those who may not be familiar, the first year of STRIVE was in 2019. And so really, the reason why the program was changed was because the prior program was outdated and it wasn't based on the best available evidence about professional development that existed. So the CMTO did consult with and worked with some experts in the field, as well as consulted with RMTs to develop a program that recognizes an RMT's abilities to evolve over time. So STRIVE focuses on continuing professional development that supports lifelong learning and performance improvement. It's driven by an RMT's growing experience, learning from peers and colleagues, engaging in further education and training opportunities. STRIVE aligns with the career span competencies, and those competencies are intentionally broad so that they apply to RMTs working in all practice settings. STRIVE ensures compliance with CMTO standards while supporting RMT's professional development and performance improvement. Lastly, STRIVE uses a streamlined approach to address any identified deficiencies and is designed to provide meaningful outcomes, enhance client care, and support continuing competence and quality improvement. So next, what we're going to do is go through the STRIVE requirements for 2020, and depending on whether or not this is your first or second year in STRIVE, your requirements will be a little different. So we'll start with those of you who are in your first year completing STRIVE, and what do you need to do? So as you see, there are 3 elements. There is an e-learning module, a self-assessment, and a learning plan that you will develop. And going through each one individually, starting with the e-learning plan. The e-learning plan is basically a STRIVE introduction. It's an overview of the program and expands on what we're discussing today with respect to STRIVE. The self-assessment is essentially a list of questions that you're going to go through and answer and essentially rate yourself in a particular element of your practice. And each of those questions essentially fall within one of the 15 career span competencies. This self-assessment is really for your benefit. So you really want to make sure you are being honest when rating yourself. And basically what you're going to do, or what you can do, is use the self-assessment to identify learning goals that you'd like to complete as part of your learning plan that you're going to develop. And then the last part there is the learning plan. So as you see, you need to include 2 learning goals, and each learning goal must have 2 learning activities, which are the things that you're going to do to complete your goal. And so if I was to provide you with an example, let's say you would like to improve your communication, and that would fall under the career span competency of communicate effectively. So you can certainly choose a variety of different ways to achieve that goal and different activities. And so it could be courses, could be books or textbooks. Maybe you work in a group setting, for example, and you want to set up maybe some reoccurring workshops with colleagues to review challenging conversations that may have taken place in your practice and help each other improve your conversations with clients going forward. So you can really be creative. There are a number of different ways that you can engage in self-improvement and achieve your learning goals. Next, I am going to cover some of the second year requirements for completing STRIVE. And so again, as you see, there is another e-learning module. There is an experiential learning exercise, and there is an interim progress report on the learning plan you created last year. So the e-learning module for this second year is about evidence-informed practice. Essentially, it will go over the history of evidence-informed practice and how it has evolved. And we'll also kind of cover how it integrates into the practice of massage therapy as well. The experiential learning exercise is an introduction to reflective practice. And so that would fall under the career span competency of practice in a self-reflective manner. It is open-ended by design and aims to build upon the skills you used in your self-assessment from the previous year to come up with a learning objective for yourself. And so instead of being asked questions that you can use to rate yourself in a particular area of your practice, you're being asked to reflect on your practice on your own and identify an area that you'd like to improve upon. You could also look at this as an opportunity to choose a goal, for example, that you might want to include in a future learning plan when you are creating a new learning plan in future years. And then for the interim progress report, this is where you'll provide an update on the progress that you've been making with the learning activities and achieving your learning goals. If you haven't made much progress with respect to some of your learning activities, that's okay. What you'd want to do is record the progress you've made or make a note of any of the obstacles that you have faced in completing those activities. And as a final reminder for everyone, the STRIVE requirements are due on November 30th of each year, and all RMTs are required to comply with STRIVE requirements on an annual basis. Next, I am going to address one of the more common questions that we get is just general questions about not being sure whether or not you are completing the STRIVE requirements correctly. And so there are a couple tips that I can give you. So on the left-hand side of your individual STRIVE pages, it will list the steps that you are to complete. And when you have submitted one of those steps, you will notice that a green check mark will appear to the left of that step's name. So if you're seeing a blue circle or a red X, that's a good indication that you haven't submitted that particular step yet. And you'll just need to find that submit button. And once you've clicked that submit button, you will see that green check mark. Other things that are available to you is if you look in the Help tab on the STRIVE page, you'll find a couple documents there that will assist with the individual learning plans. So whether that's, if you're developing in the first year or if you're doing the interim progress report, provides a little bit of a step-by-step on the going through each learning plan and what you should expect to see depending on where you are in that process. And ultimately, when you do complete all of your required elements of your STRIVE requirements, you should also receive a confirmation email to let you know that they have been successfully submitted. Next, we're going to address a question that we've been getting that was directly related to the pandemic. And so a lot of RMTs are wondering about what they should do because they haven't been able to complete a particular activity due to the pandemic. And that could have been whether because of a course maybe wasn't offered or online learning maybe got pushed back or maybe even canceled as well. And so kind of going in line with what I said previously on another slide, if you haven't made much progress, that's okay. We certainly do expect that the pandemic might have affected learning objectives for a lot of RMTs this year. And so in that situation, you would simply just want to make a note of the obstacles you've faced, and you can give an update on what your new plan is. In relation to that, we did get some questions about potentially changing a goal because of that. And so what I would suggest is you wouldn't necessarily want to change your goal. Certainly your goal might have become a little bit more challenging to complete because of courses being canceled, for example. But what I would encourage is maybe trying to find another activity that you can do that would still help you achieve that goal or pursue that goal. So, if a course was canceled, for example, maybe there is a book that you can read or research papers that you can evaluate. Try and get creative again and trying to find another way to help you progress towards that same goal. And just remember that STRIVE learning goals are set with the intention of completing them over a 24-month process. And so providing an update on your progress annually ensures that the goals remain top of mind. Next, we're going to address a question about virtual peer assessments. We've had some inquiries about what that looks like, and really it's not very much different from the in-person assessment that was introduced in 2016. Obviously, everything is online because the CMTO has certainly had to transition our operations virtually, like a lot of organizations out there. And so really the virtual assessment process, you'll be asked to upload some documents in advance of meeting with your assessor so that the assessor can review all of that information. And then you'll also be asked to meet with your assessor virtually to conduct kind of the interview portion of the assessment. Whenever someone is selected for an assessment, they are always provided with some documentation to help guide them through that process and let them know of what it is we'll be asking. And certainly if there is any additional need for support for an individual RMT, we're happy to provide that as well. And so lastly, just to bounce back to Strive again, if you do have any questions about Strive, you can certainly feel free to contact our Strive Center at the phone number or email address that you're seeing on your screen. And a member of our Strive team would be happy to try and help guide you a little further. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'll transition over to Jennifer, who's going to talk to you about CMTO's draft standards of practice. Hey, Jennifer, I just think your mic might be muted.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
As most RMTs are likely aware, CMTO has developed new standards of practice. This is a very important and exciting project for CMTO and for massage therapists in Ontario. I want to share a bit of background about this project and then talk a little bit about the new standards, such as why they changed and why we want to hear from RMTs during the consultation period. I'll start with sharing a bit of background. Developing the standards of practice began with a thorough review of the existing standards, legislation, policies, guidelines, complaints data, and standards from similar organizations in Ontario, across Canada, and internationally. Following the initial review, CMTO also engaged with RMTs by holding focus group sessions throughout December 2019. These focus groups were referred to as the Standards of Practice Advisory Group, or SPAG for short form. SPAG is comprised of RMTs from across the province with varying experience and backgrounds. Through these focus group sessions, SPAG members were able to provide input into the development of the new standards. They were able to make suggestions and recommendations to propose content and offer solutions to issues that arose in the initial development phase. When you have a moment to review the new standards, you will likely notice that they are presented in a different format from the existing standards. The new standards are focused on the outcome or the end result, rather than the specific steps to reach an outcome. The shift towards outcome-based standards will provide RMTs with more latitude to use their professional judgment to achieve the described outcome, rather than following a strict set of steps which may not be applicable to every type of practice setting. The new standards aim to provide the fewest prescriptive requirements as possible while protecting public safety. The content of each standard was carefully determined through risk analysis for public protection. You'll also notice that the new standards have been drafted with the client in mind. Each standard establishes a client outcome. This will support clients to understand what they can expect from an RMT. And finally, the new standards are applicable in all practice settings, for example, a spa, clinic, or home-based practice, and even those types of settings that may be considered non-clinical in nature. I'd like to highlight that we are currently in the consultation period of the standards project. It is very important that we hear from RMTs during this consultation period. Feedback is critical to shaping the new standards of practice. If you haven't done so already, please visit our consultation page at cmto.com/consultations before November 16th to review the new standards and share your feedback with us. Please also feel free to share the consultation page with clients and other colleagues. Next slide, please. We've also received some great questions about implementation of the new standards. I'd like to take a moment to share that CMTO understands the importance of ensuring sufficient time for implementation, which is why we are giving RMTs time to familiarize themselves with the new standards of practice before they actually go into effect. After the consultation period closes, we will review all of the feedback and address the issues that were identified. At that point, the draft standards of practice will be reviewed and ultimately approved by Council in 2021, with the implementation set for 2022. Once the new standards are approved, CMTO will resend or transition several of the existing policies and resources in order to remove duplication and ensure regulatory alignment to the new standards of practice. We will also develop new practice resources that provide more detail on how to apply or implement the new standards. As a final point on this topic, it's important to point out that once the new standards are approved and implemented, they will replace the existing standards of practice. On that note, it's very important to keep in mind that until the new standards are implemented in 2022, RMTs must continue to follow the existing standards. Next slide, please. When RMTs signed up for this webinar, they shared a number of questions with us. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who sent in questions. We really appreciate your engagement. I'd like to take a few minutes to address some of the more common questions and topics that we received. The first specific topic area related to questions about renewal processes. An example of the first question, how will the impact of the pandemic affect practice hour requirements for renewal? What happens if I can't meet those requirements due to COVID-19? General certificate holders are being granted an extension until March 29th, 2021 to meet the practice hour requirement, which is 500 hours of direct client care within the scope of practice of the profession for the previous 3 years. The direct client care declaration on the general certificate renewal form has been updated to show the extension of the 3-year timeframe. Another popular question was, can RMTs pause their CMTO registration for shorter periods than 1 year? And is it possible to switch the status online? RMTs can go inactive at any time during the year for any duration of time. To find more information about switching registration status, visit CMTO's website. Perform a search using the term status change on our search toggle tool. At this point in time, the process for switching registration status is entirely paper-based. RMTs can find more information about this process on our website at the dedicated page. We are currently working on a self-service portal for RMTs that will improve user experience. Please reach out to the Registration Services Department with questions about switching status at registrationservices@cmto.com. Next slide, please. We also received questions about annual renewal fees. We know that it has been a very challenging year personally, professionally, and financially for many RMTs. As an example of one of the more popular questions, why do our renewal fees increase every year except this one due to the pandemic? Why didn't CMTO reduce our fees this year? It's important to start by sharing that annual fees do not necessarily increase every year. Each year, Council reviews the registration renewal fees and may determine, in accordance with Bylaw Number 7, to adjust the fees by the annual rate of inflation and/or by an amount necessary to ensure the financial stewardship of the organization. With respect to the 2021 renewal fees, Council decided to keep the fees consistent with 2020 and approved a process which allows for the renewal fee to be paid in 2 equal installments. We hope that this provides some relief to RMTs. Another question was, how can RMTs find more information about how annual fees are distributed or spent? Each year, we publish audited financial statements in our annual report. These reports are available in the Key Publications section of CMTO's website. We also publish financial reports on a quarterly basis. These reports are published in the Council Meeting Materials section of the website. CMTO is a not-for-profit organization. As RMTs are a self-regulated profession, CMTO operations are funded solely by registration fees. As a brief overview, I'll share here that registration fees typically cover costs associated with investigating concerns about the conduct and competence of RMTs, conducting discipline hearings for RMTs who are alleged to have committed professional misconduct, processing registration and annual renewal fees, developing practice guidance and resources so that RMTs practice safely, effectively, and ethically, engaging in outreaches dedicated to building the public's understanding of massage therapists as a regulated profession and the role of the college, administering the quality assurance program known as STRIVE. The STRIVE program ensures that RMTs will continue to develop their professional competence, which promotes quality improvement within the profession. Other regulatory work is also covered by these fees, such as developing and implementing policies and regulation changes that affect a massage therapy practice. Next slide, please. Other questions we have received pertain to the practice of massage therapy and the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll take a few minutes here to share some of these questions. One of the more popular questions we received relate to whether or not RMTs will be able to continue practice as the pandemic evolves and how they can best protect themselves and clients. We want to let you know that we will continue to monitor this evolving situation and will update RMTs as we receive information. RMTs should continue to refer to the COVID-19 dedicated webpage of the CMTO website for the most up-to-date information and resources. Go to www.cmto.com and click on the red menu tab that reads COVID-19 to find that page. The dedicated webpage contains comprehensive information to support RMTs in practice. If you haven't visited the webpage recently, please find some time for yourself so that you can dedicate to reviewing the FAQs for RMTs and the COVID-19 resources section on that page. As a reminder, RMTs must follow the guidance provided by CMTO, the Ministry of Health, and Public Health Ontario while practicing during the pandemic. If you have any questions about COVID-19 and massage therapy, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. I can be reached at practicespecialist@cmto.com or by phone at 1-800-465-1933 extension 4124. As the seasons change and as the weather gets colder, the next most popular question we've received relates to whether RMTs can reintroduce the use of a thermophore heating pad back into their practice. CMTO's position is that RMTs must remove any item that cannot be directly cleaned or disinfected from the treatment area. Our guidance reflects best practice recommendations from Public Health Ontario and the Provincial Infectious Diseases Advisory Committee. RMTs must use their professional judgment when incorporating CMTO's guidance into their own practice. In cases where RMTs are considering modifications to the guidance, for example, covering a thermophore with a vinyl cover, they must evaluate the risks associated with those modifications in order to ensure that they do not reduce the effectiveness of the original infection prevention measure. COVID-19 is transmitted through contact and droplet contamination. Therefore, measures must be taken to reduce the risk of particle contamination from surfaces that are repeatedly touched by a practitioner or a client, such as the surface of a heating pad. Next slide, please. Aside from questions about practicing during the pandemic and renewal fees, we've also received many questions about certification exams. One of the more popular questions relates to what might happen to recent graduates if they can't complete the OSCE portion of the certification exams in January 2021. First, it's very important to start by sharing that CMTO understands that the delay in offering certification examinations has had a significant impact on new graduates. New graduates can stay connected to updates about the 2021 certification examinations by visiting our website at www.cmto.com. Click on the Becoming an RMT title, followed by the Certification Examinations subtitle. At this point in time, the OSCEs are scheduled to resume in January 2021. The OSCEs will start approximately 4 months earlier than normal. CMTO staff are working on a comprehensive update of infection prevention protocols for the OSCEs to protect the health and safety of examination candidates, exam team members, and staff. Next slide, please. And the last topic area I'll be able to cover today relates to evidence-informed practice. We were very happy to see a number of questions about evidence-informed practice and what CMTO is doing to help RMTs to apply an evidence-informed approach to their practice. First, it's important to highlight that CMTO is committed to ensuring quality client care through evidence-informed practice. This commitment is outlined in the current strategic plan. RMTs are engaged in this commitment through the STRIVE program. STRIVE's career span competencies provide a framework for RMTs to manage their practice throughout the entire span of their career. One of these competencies specifically identifies that RMTs will use an evidence-informed approach in their work. This means that RMTs will make practice decisions by integrating the best available evidence sources for the situation at hand, including research-based information, their own professional knowledge, the client perspective, and the practice context. In order to support RMTs to develop competencies related to using an evidence-informed approach, the 2020 Strive e-learning module focuses on evidence-informed practice. The module provides the foundation needed to support future professional development in this area. CMTO also recently surveyed the profession about evidence-informed practice. We'd like to thank all of the RMTs who took the time to participate in that survey. The results will be analyzed and we will use the information to inform development of future resources. Next slide, please. We'd like to thank RMTs for all of the thoughtful questions that we have recently received. I want to acknowledge that some of the questions we received about the future of the profession and how the COVID-19 pandemic might change things as we move forward. Like you, we are still contemplating these questions. Although we don't have all the answers right now, we remain committed to staying informed as we move forward. Our focus continues to be the safety of the public, including massage therapists, and providing guidance to RMTs so that clients can continue to safely receive massage therapy treatment. And with that, this concludes my portion of the webinar, and I will hand things back over to Asma.
Thanks, Jennifer. Just as a reminder, please do feel free to contact us as you need. We are here to answer your questions. You can reach us by phone or email. You can call us at 416-489-2626 or toll free in Ontario at 1-800-465-1933. You can also email us at cmto@cmto.com for general inquiries, at strive@cmto.com for questions regarding Strive, CMTO's quality assurance program, and at practicespecialist@cmto.com for practice-related questions. CMTO's office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. At this time, CMTO continues to operate remotely, so please call or email us for information or if you have questions. Remember to also follow us on social media for the latest information and updates. We are on Twitter at College of MT, on LinkedIn as College of Massage Therapists of Ontario, and on YouTube as CMTO Videos. And last but certainly not least, we would like to extend a big thank you to all of Ontario's massage therapists. We know you have made sacrifices in order to protect fellow Ontarians. Thank you for your professionalism during this unprecedented time and for the quality care that you provide to your clients every day. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend an hour with us, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.